Hey, what's going on, everybody? My name is Matt, and my friends call me Matty D. And it's funny, ever since sports gambling has become legal in more states, there's a lot more wise guys and wannabe wise guys on podcasts and telling you what to bet and how you bet. You know, I'm not a wise guy. I'm just a regular guy. I'm a father too, a husband, all that good stuff. But I am a college basketball fanatic, and I love to invest a little bit of money in the futures every year before the college basketball season begins. I am here outside of the Lakeside Casino in Iowa, just another state that has in recent years legalized sports betting, and I'm at the William Hill Sportsbook here in Iowa. I'm gonna build over the season 11 teams that I'm gonna kind of slowly invest in over time, leading up to and including March Madness, and we'll just see how we do during the tournament. So here's really where I find a lot of values right now. It's recreation, looking over the entire season here. These are teams that I really love, and I feel pretty comfortable that these are going to be great values, that these teams really looked great last year, especially in a shortened season when everyone didn't see these teams perform under the bright lights. You didn't get a chance for a lot of these players to be introduced on some of these lesser known teams, if you will. So I'm really loving these teams as values heading into the college basketball season of 2020 and 2021. The first team that I really love under this scenario is Houston at 50-1. It's ironic that Houston's college basketball team mimics the design of Houston's pro basketball team. In fact, I might have to take that back because the Cougars might have more size down low than the Houston Rockets, but the Cougars definitely have an abundance of scoring and athleticism at the guard spot and the wings. Once upon a time, junior guard Quentin Grimes was college basketball's top 10 recruit as a McDonald's All-American coming out of high school. His skills speak for themselves on tape, and the speed, scoring, and athleticism of numbers 0 through 3 on the roster, quite literally, are overwhelming. Marcus Sasser, Jamal Shed, Caleb Mills, and Dejan Jarreau are all a nightmare to guard. This team will not be 50-1 for long. In fact, I've seen them drop already in some sports books to 25-1. The second team that I really love as a huge value headed into the college basketball season are the Colorado Buffaloes at 75-1. Yes, they lost Tyler Bay, an athletic superstar as a junior last year, but they're returning one of the best point guards in the league. In his junior season last year, McKinley Wright IV scored 14.4 points with a 5-3 assist to turnover ratio and a very healthy 5.7 rebounds a game. As the season begins, there are a handful of teams hovering around the 10-1 mark to win a national championship. According to VegasInsider.com, those chalky teams are Gonzaga, Villanova, Iowa, Baylor, and Virginia. One team notably missing from the sub 20-1 category, and that's the Blue Ridge Mountains of West Virginia. When assessing a college basketball team, I always like to look first at the point guard like a quarterback. In football, a starting pitcher in baseball, the point guard should normally dictate the betting line. But with West Virginia, although I don't have a huge sample size to get familiar with one point guard per se, the depth of this roster is overwhelming on paper. And the factor that is overwhelming to the eyes is the mountainous combination down in the post. The team's blog went as far as saying that Derek Culver and Oscar Tshiebwe are the Twin Towers. Although I wouldn't go as far as hearkening images of Tim Duncan and David Robinson, I would say that Tshiebwe compares favorably to a young Karl Malone, and he is understandably on that watch list. Also, I've heard multiple interviews this preseason with Coach Huggins and players where the national championship is obviously spoken about in the locker room and is a realistic goal. And if you know Huggy Bear and his personality, he's not exactly the type of character to hype up bold predictions. But he did go as far as to describe to John Rothstein on his college basketball podcast how amazing it would be to travel from small town to small town across West Virginia to let fans touch the championship trophy. Talk about country roads, take me home to the place where I belong. Please check out the YouTube summary below for links to full videos
from the highlight videos that I've credited here. ESPN and Fox Sports are obviously the major home for watching college basketball throughout the regular season.
And for the few people who did watch the equivalent of this video last year, I know there's a couple of you in the room, I did recommend Seton Hall at, I believe, about 100-1 at that point. And even though they lost Miles Powell, they have a strong nucleus that's returning and actually performed really well while Powell was out with injury during periods of time last season.
Speaking of the Karl Malone watch list, power forward Sandro Momisvili headlines a returning class for the Seton Hall Pirates that is way too far overlooked. If you look back to last season, you'll actually remember the game that turned the Pirates season around was when they went against 7th ranked Maryland, and they didn't have Miles Powell or Sandro Mamu. Jared Roden and Miles Kale stepped up in that game among a core of other talented players. Shavar Reynolds is one of the most fun on-ball defending point guards to watch in college basketball. And they add veteran point guard transfer Bryce Aiken from Harvard, and they retain 7-footer Ike Obiagu. Sophomore Tyrese Samuel from Montreal also showed flashes last year as a somewhat raw but super athletic freshman. Watch out for this nucleus of returning players with something to prove, with a major chip on their shoulder, giving these low expectations. I mean, just look at the preseason top 25 list from the Associated Press. You have to scroll down to the very bottom to see that they only got 2 votes. I guess 2 beat reporters have some idea of what's going on and are actually watching the games.
The Seton Hall Pirates enter the season at a 100-1 odds to win the NCAA March Madness. And the Rutgers Scarlet Knights, they're another program that really changed around their program and the tone of their entire basketball team over the 2019-2020 season. And so I'm really liking the momentum that they've built as a program and some of the returning players that they have headed into the 2020-2021 campaign.
Now, if sports betting isn't your thing, I totally understand. I hope you still find this preseason preview entertaining. I mean, the odds are really just the best indication of what a team's expectations are. Even the preseason polls are biased by reporters who cover individual teams, and if Las Vegas has proven anything, it's that they can nail the number. And so these preseason predictions are compared to the Las Vegas odds. And so our preseason predictions as compared to the Las Vegas odds continues.
And the penny stock equivalent in this entire portfolio analogy would be North Texas. And they had a very good season last year, and their conference has been known to play the spoiler character in March Madness.
Just another caveat, if you're curious about my credentials, I already mentioned I have none. However, last season in this same video, I identified Ohio State as a preseason value pick at 55-1. You'll remember at one point last season, they were ranked number 1 overall. Also, when I started this blog, way back once upon a time, I picked Kemba Walker's UConn team to win it all as a 60-1 preseason value.
And I will continue to hand select teams over the course of the year with the goal of picking 11 teams total and having at least 8 of those enter March Madness. And then I will hedge each of those teams that are in March Madness with whomever their opponent is, so that I'm guaranteeing myself 8 out of 32 in the field of 32. And then we'll just see what develops from there, what values are popping out. So this is a method that I'm gonna coin the eye test 11, and we're here in Iowa, and that's alliteration galore. My attitude in investing in the chalk at this point is, why would I buy a team at 8-1 or 10-1 in November or December when come February or March there might be a major injury and that investment has kind of blown up in my face? I might as well, if there's a team that I like at 8-1 in November or December, even if they drop down to 5-1 or 6-1, I would probably still have confidence to put a little bit of money on them. So it's all about moderation. If you're struggling in the area of moderation when it comes to sports betting and gambling, please seek help and let me know if you like or dislike my methodology here. And it's basically all driven by the eye test. What I've watched, even if it's late at night after the kiddos have gone to bed and I'm DVRing some game highlights and game footage, it's all based on the eye test of what I see. and I trust my eyes, but I verify it with some of the data from Ken Pom and some of our favorites across the college basketball landscape. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Again, here from Osceola, Iowa, this is Matty D. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you on the 11th of next month.